Hello and welcome to the foundations and the spiritual team section within this course. I've touched upon it a little bit in the welcome section. My welcome section this time was a little bit more expansive, and I think some of that just came because it was just those moments. But I want to talk about the foundations of a spiritual reading, and how you think about them, how you're starting to work with them, and how you can change the way in which you do things. First and foremost, never ever be worried or ashamed about charging for your services. And I touched upon this in the welcome section. You have your own time, you have your energy, you have to eat, you have to feed, you have to pay your mortgage, pay your bills, do all of these things. And part and parcel of working spiritually is that you get paid for your services. Your services, although they're divine, are no more different to the gifts that, God or whoever you believe religiously, those gifts that have been given to other people. There's no way in the world that I could work as a carpenter. I'm useless with my hands. I couldn't be an electrician. I couldn't be an artist. I couldn't be all of these things. I can't do that. That's not my gift. But the people who do that charge for their gift. They charge for their skills. They charge for the services that they provide. So we need to charge for the services that we provide because we have been blessed and given this gift, and we need to use that to be able to, help fulfill our lives, pay our bills, pay our mortgage, etc., etc. Even within this course, you've had to pay, and that's helping me, in my physical world as much as my spiritual world, and I thank you for that. So never get et up about charging. How much you charge and whether or not you're providing value, that's another question. And those are the things you need to work with yourself. I would normally say, and this probably date it, but I'm probably charging anywhere around about £1 a minute when I'm in person. So a 30-minute reading is about £30. Okay, and that can vary as well. All right. Sometimes though I do free readings. Sometimes I'll help, and sometimes the first reading I might charge. The second one I say, well, you need to come back if we're going to do something, and we'll work on a bit later. You see how I structure my readings is that we might do some healing or something like that. So it varies, but never get et up or worry about charging for your services. Provide value. Give a service that people appreciate and respect and want to come back for. But don't worry about that. So the foundations of this course really are going to be looking at things like the structure. How do we put it all together? Intentions. It's very important when you're working spiritually, and we talk about all of the courses that I work on, is setting those intentions of what we're doing at that moment in time with spirit. Okay? And I'll go into a little bit more detail with that a little bit later on. Then we're going to look at things, how we work divination. Divination is how we use tools to work with the divine. All right, and I'm carrying this. I still haven't let this go. My crystal ball, my cards, all of those things, and pendulums. How do you work with divination, and what part do they play within the spiritual reading, and how do you build that out? Okay, we're going to look at how we work psychically. So whether it's a psychic reading, whether we're going to start to dip in and start working with their auras and start reading them energetically and looking at their past lives and histories and all through the energies. Mediumship. How we're going to work then? How does spirit? How does it all work mediumistically? How does it all come together? When you start in a reading, you may start psychically, then you go mediumistically. You start to use divination. You start to all of these things. It may sound complex, but we'll break it all down and we'll sift it all out, and we'll make sure that you're comfortable sectioning and structuring your readings, and also then looking at the healing aspects as well. If you're a healer. And how we're going to work with that, and then finally, we're going to round things up. I want to talk about our spiritual team here as well. This is part of the foundation. Is getting to understand that although we are here on the earth ourselves, and we're working as a spiritual light, if you like, here on the earth plane, there's so much more happening in spirit, and that happening is your spiritual team who are going to work with you. And just bear in mind that when you're doing a private reading or you've got a sitting, that you're going to work with your spiritual team to enable them to help you to provide the best level of service, the best information, the best healing, the best evidence, the best psychic work, the best work with tarot, so we can understand their futures a bit better and how we can help them spiritually, guide them through their physical lives. That all needs to be part of a team. You can't bear this sort of, if you like, responsibility just to yourself. You have to understand that you are here working as a medium, as a psychic, as a healer, as whatever it is. And you need to understand that you have a whole host of people in spirit who are your team that are going to work with you and to fundamentally enable you to be able to provide the best level of support and evidence and reading for the person, the sitter, as we're going to call them, the people who sit with you and pay for a reading, the sitter as best they can. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later in terms of the structure. And the foundations in the spiritual team, don't be afraid of charging. Don't be afraid of providing a service. Don't be afraid when we talk about of working with your spiritual team, working with spiritual gifts and helping people through practicing and sitting with them within a reading. So the structure, the foundation, we're going to work on the structures next. The foundation in your spiritual team. Please understand that you need the help of your spiritual people. Although you might not sense them, you not feel them, you might not be at that stage yet. You've still got to be there. You've still got to ask them. You've got to respect the fact that they're going to be working with you. Okay, so that's the basic foundations and what we're talking about, and your spiritual team, which we'll go into a bit more detail and a bit more depth later on. The next part, we're going to talk specifically about the structure of that reading and how we then, after that, we set our intentions. So the foundations are, don't be afraid of charging. Make sure you provide value. Think about this now. It's not just you. This is you and your spiritual team working together to provide that help and that healing and that evidence and that clarity to the sitter that's going to be coming and paying for your services. Or if you're in initial stages, practicing with your family and friends, etc. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this part, and it sort of starts to set it out and starts for you to truly understand where you are. So thank you very much, and I look forward to the next section. Thank you.